Hey everybody, welcome to another McSoss video. My name is Paul. With me are Ian and Matt this time joining us. And tonight we're going to throw you a curveball and we're going to talk NHL Playoffs. We've had some success with some podcast sports episodes, or little one-offs. I wouldn't classify them as full episodes.
No, we just give you a little taste, just the tip of the sports, the McSoss Sports Network, which we're going to start at some point. We're going to have a whole full scope of McSoss Sports items.
We're all sports fans. Some sports more than others. Don't ask us to do the McSoss baseball podcast, because you're not going to get a lot of juice out of that one.
We could bullshit our way through it, much like we bullshit our way through everything.
I saw the Pirates swept the Cubs over the weekend.
World champion Cubs. Does that mean that the Pirates are going to be good this season?
I don't know. It certainly doesn't mean that the Pirates are going to be on the McSoss Sports Network. The McSoss Sports Network is going to consist of hockey, because I feel like that's just a McSoss thing, right? Every episode, this guy has to bring up hockey in some
Not
context.
every episode.
Virtually every episode.
The Kings have had a down season, so he's been hush.
There hasn't been much hockey talk, but Ian, you're a big football guy, so we're gonna have football on the McSoss Sports Network. That's kind of the extent of it, right? I mean, you like basketball?
I like basketball.
We'll include basketball. You don't like college basketball though?
No, I don't. I just like to poorly gamble on the NCAA tournament.
Just like 95% of the country.
So
Yes.
Mercifully, we're not going to have college I hate college basketball. I hate it.
I don't like it either.
It's not very good. It's entertaining to watch one-and-done situations, but you could do that with any sport,
I just like watching the done part.
like...
Because I don't know if you guys agree, but wouldn't you agree there's nothing... When you watch a sport, like a sporting event, and it's a big game, especially for big games, at the very end, when you have the losers, if it's, like when the home team loses and you see the crowd just beside themselves with sorrow and defeat, nothing is better than the college fan losing.
Usually, they really bleed.
Because they stupidly, because they're already like drunk. They've only been a fan for like since they were freshmen. And now they're sophomores, but yet it's like, I've been a fan of... Give me a college.
Nebraska.
Arizona State. Ever since I was 18, I'm 19 now. I love it. I love when they lose.
I wonder if my lack of caring about college sports has anything to do with the fact that I didn't go to a proper college or university. I went to a technical school. We did not have sports teams.
Unfortunately.
So, I don't have that. I never went to games. I don't have that alumni pool. But even going to high school, I played hockey for my high school. But in 4 years, I never went to a football game. I never went to any other sporting event than my own.
I think I also didn't go to many sporting events for my high school. I think I went to a few girls' powder puff football games. Sexy. So, I mean, that was... Did I play in them? I just watched. Lovingly from the sidelines.
We had a basketball team and a soccer team and a baseball team in my college. But I went to none of them. I just didn't care. There wasn't time. There wasn't time to go to those type of frivolities.
But we here in Pittsburgh, we do like our hockey a whole lot. So,
and we are deep in the middle of the first round of playoffs.
Right.
And so far, it's been, other than the Kings not bothering with the playoffs this year, they couldn't be bothered to score fucking goals all season long, except Jeff Carter, who petered out because he was tired of carrying those fucking losers. We're in the throes of playoffs, and I could not be happier with the way the majority of the way that it's playing out so far.
Really? I think that's interesting because aren't most teams pretty much split at this point?
Yeah, but the teams that aren't split are teams that I'm really happy about.
Well, why don't you go through some of those teams and explain the matchups a little bit to the dear viewers?
For instance, out west, the mid to third quarter darlings of the NHL, the Minnesota Wild. They went on a nice little run right before the fourth quarter of the season, right before the trade deadline, and everyone was already planning the Stanley Cup route through Minnesota.
I like the venom and how crisp it is.
And I kept
these
because all
this
fucking
quarter.
season, not even this season, since they came in the league with those boring ass colors, those boring ass jerseys, they should still be the fucking North Stars. I've been saying this is not a good hockey team. This is not a real hockey team.
Based on their bland
When your centers
color
are
palette.
Zach Parise and Eric Stahl, you are not going to win anything. And they're not right now. They're down 3-0 in the series to the St. Louis Blues. And I could not be happier that, like, I wish I had access more so than just on Twitter because they won't interact back with me. But I want to grab all these fucking media hacks that were just stroking the Wild's big ding dong for the majority of the season about their Stanley Cup aspirations. And now they're fucking garbage. They're complete hot garbage, and I couldn't be happier.
Isn't it sort of part and parcel? The media gets excited about the new hotness or somebody that should be crowned the next champion. And isn't that a little bit of what they've done with the Washington Capitals, who have had great regular seasons, but, pretty subpar runs in the playoffs? They haven't done as much with the talent as they probably should have.
Yeah, but at least with the Capitals, there is the talent's there. Star players are available. Vezina winning goaltenders are there. Like, they have the pieces, they're just not putting it together. What irritates me about teams like the Wild and even the Montreal Canadiens, I think they're winning they're up 2-1 in their series against the New York Rangers right now. They're winning, but people think, oh, Montreal has a chance. No, you don't. When your number one center's Max Pacioretty, you don't have a chance. He's not a number one center. He is not a Stanley Cup bringing number one center. Garbage. They may beat the Rangers, and then they're going to face two more garbage teams, the Bruins, who barely snuck into the playoffs, and the Senators, who are also garbage. No number one centers on that team. Like the Atlantic Division, Rangers.
You're very center-centric.
This playoff lineup in the Atlantic Division, it's Rangers and Canadiens, Bruins and Ottawa. If they could, they're the four worst teams left in the East. If they could all knock each other out, let's do this. Because the Maple Leafs, Capitals, Penguins, and Blue Jackets, all more legitimate contenders than those four fucking lumps in the Atlantic.
Isn't that sort of something that has to do with the new way that the rankings, the playoff seeding is this year? Is it this year that's the first year? I don't know.
No, last year was the first year.
Last year's first year.
They did it, which is why the Rangers wound up being in the Atlantic Division playoffs, and the Maple Leafs are in the Metropolitan, even though they're flipped for the regular season.
Do you like these rivalries that are being built through this force-fed seeding?
No, I don't believe in force-feeding anything. Well, maybe a couple things I believe in it, but
what would those things be?
So I don't know why they changed it. I don't think you can manufacture rivalries. I think they just happen. They could be from, a lot of the times it could be from like a cheap shot in a game, and then all of a sudden the fans become venomous. The players take issue with it. It could lead, especially in hockey, it could lead to fights, things like that. I'm more interested in seeing a traditional 1-8, 2-7, 3-6 kind of seeding, and then let the tournament tree kind of just work the way it does. It was never perfect before, too, because of the reseeding after the first round. It should just be a straight-up tournament tree, and then you have the winner in each conference. I never understood why it just wasn't a standard tree that didn't get reseeded. Ian, what is the benefit of reseeding tournament trees?
I really don't know. I feel
there you have it.
I feel like what do you want to do whenever you're having a tournament? You want to find out who the best team is in this group of teams. I feel that the way that they're doing this right now, like Paul mentioned, it seems like all the really great teams that have a chance to go on and represent the East are going to knock each other out in the first round, and that doesn't seem like a way to get to a pure champion.
There's kind of an opposite balance in the Western Conference because every team in the West is a good team.
Yeah.
So there isn't one divisional, balance offsetting the other. Every team out there has just as good a chance as any other team. But in the East, those Atlantic teams are fucking dog shit. You know who you are. So Ian, you said before we started you were hate watching the Capitals Maple Leaf series.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan first and an NHL fan second. So through the regular season, I don't really watch any other NHL games. I don't really pay attention to what's happening with the league. I'm a poor fan in that aspect, but I know who I don't like, and I don't like Ovechkin. I don't like the Washington Capitals.
Fucking Yinzer.
Well, I mean, it's a rivalry, right?
Yeah, but you should be able to step above that and appreciate that we're watching the greatest goal scorer of our generation in his prime.
He doesn't seem to be that great if he can't get out of the second round.
It doesn't matter what he had this year.
How many games did he
Dude's
play?
put up more goals.
Did he play all 82 games?
And that's fucking saying something. For the freight train way he plays the game, that he's so durable and he's managed to play as many games as he has.
He dishes out hits. He doesn't absorb hits. People don't hit him.
I want to see
hit him.
I want to
hit
see
and he gives hits.
I want to see postseason accomplishments. That is what sways my opinion in all sports. And it not just great efficiency in the regular season.
Well,
it's if he can do something which he hasn't been able to do. It's not just because the Penguins have knocked them out a couple of times. It's because he hasn't been able to lift his team and make his team better.
Well,
he's sort of like a Russell Westbrook is doing the same kind of thing, a one-man show-ish kind of thing in the NBA playoffs, and I don't really appreciate that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Well, I didn't say he was the greatest Stanley Cup winner of our generation, but we are watching generational talent happen during our lifetimes, and I
can appreciate that. It doesn't mean that I have to like him.
We saw a bulk of Lemieux's career, but a bulk of those careers were when we were young and didn't really have a grasp on the game. Now we're old. We know. We have a much better understanding of what these players go through, what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Matt, even if Ovechkin's not getting creamed every game, he still plays a punishing, physical game that takes a toll on him.
True.
And same can be said for Phil Kessel, even though he plays less of a physical game. He's able to put in 82 games.
The most unphysical.
Yeah, but even playing as many games as those guys have is a huge accomplishment.
And that's fine, and I can appreciate that aspect of it, but it doesn't make me have to or want to root for a player or have to even like the dude. He doesn't seem like a very likable, charismatic player. So what's going to get me on his side as a player to root for him? Already stacked against him is the fact that I root for a team that's going to meet him in the playoffs. So
who is the Steelers' biggest rival?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Who's the greatest Baltimore Raven of all
time?
Ray Lewis.
Do we like Ray Lewis?
No, we don't.
Okay, there we go.
But Ray Lewis murdered somebody. Alex Ovechkin never
but he was also
somebody.
Everything that you said about a generational talent.
He is from Russia. You don't know what happened in Russia.
Right. Everything that you mentioned about a generational talent, all those things apply to Ray Lewis. He was the linebacker for 20 years. He had extreme longevity. Even in his final season, when he was slapped together with plastic and tape, he won the Super Bowl and was a driving effort on that defense. Yeah, but I don't like him, and I wasn't rooting for him, so...
You don't have to like Ovechkin or root for him, but I think his teams haven't won a cup yet, but...
Or advance past the second round, right?
What are you saying he has to do?
He doesn't have to do anything.
Well, then what were you getting on his case about?
For, just being a Yinzer, not being able...
not liking the rival player?
Well, is that me being a Yinzer?
You can appreciate what he's doing. I would like them to win.
I mentioned that I
if the Penguins
appreciate
get
what he's
knocked out,
doing. I just don't like him.
I want those guys to advance because he is a passionate player. He is there for his team. He does everything he can, night in and night out, for the 82 games a season to help this team. And he has solid playoff numbers. It's not like he dips off and becomes a ghost in the playoffs. And this year, the last couple years, they've underachieved, but they have players that I like. They have players I can get behind, players that really play a team game.
At some point, when you're that dominant of a player, aren't you responsible for not lifting your team past the second round? I think that you do. I think some of that blame has to fall on you. So, to me, I don't think that there's nothing that's going to ever sway me until I see him advance in the playoffs.
Ray Lewis can make 4 sacks, every drive against the other team.
Right.
Doesn't matter if the offense doesn't put up a couple points.
Well,
and it's similar.
In his first Super Bowl, their team didn't score a touchdown in the final 7 or 8 games in the regular season. So, I don't know. He led a historic defense. He was the main focal point of that defense and kind of pushed them to...
Did Ray Lewis and the defense score the winning points that won them the Super Bowl?
No, they didn't, but they were the reason they won the Super Bowl.
He did. Did he not have a touchdown in that Super Bowl?
I don't know if he did or didn't. He was the Super Bowl MVP. I know that much. So, is that good enough? He was the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah,
from a linebacker spot, which never happens.
He's Super Bowl MVP, but he can't do it by himself. And it's even more slanted in hockey when you're a winger. You have so much less responsibility than you do if you're the center, if you're one of the 2 defensemen, or the goalie. The wingers have the least responsibility on the ice, and he's doing everything under his responsibility to make that team successful. But if one of those defensemen or the goalie cough up a puck and it winds up in their own net, there's nothing he can do about that. He's doing everything under his power. Same with Sid the last so many seasons. Sid's never been a bad hockey player, but we still went so many years between Stanley Cup appearances.
That was the coach, apparently.
Still something despite what Sid was doing on the ice.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hate you for making me defend Ray Lewis here. But, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like this is my Yinzerness taking over.
I don't think it is either.
I feel like I treat all sports the same way. I like to see playoff accomplishment. I like to see championships. I usually measure players in that fashion. That's why Ray Lewis is so infuriating, because he's got hardware and there's nothing I can do to argue about his accomplishments. So
you're watching the Capitals to watch them lose. So you are Camp Maple Leafs.
Oh, big Leafs Nation here. I love it. I love those young kids. That's what they've got going for them, right? They're a young team. They've got Mike Babcock.
Greatest coach in the game.
Yeah.
Arguably.
So, I mean, they've been exciting games, too. An overtime game, a double overtime game. So that's exactly, as a casual fan of the NHL in general, that's what I want to see anyway. So it's been good times.
Matt, do you have a playoff favorite besides the Penguins that you're looking at?
Well, I kind of want the Maple Leafs to win because I feel like the Capitals are going to give the Penguins trouble if both teams make it into the second round. And I don't want that to happen because the way that the playoff tournament is set up, it seems like it's going to be front-loaded. Mm-hmm. So if we can make it any easier, that's fine with me. I've seen the Penguins in the Crosby Ovechkin era. They've beat them twice. I don't need to see it again.
They've been tight series. That's another part. I want Ovechkin out of there because I do know how powerful he is, and that team at any time could jump up and get us.
I was watching Game 2, the Caps versus the Maple Leafs, and man, that was a chippy game. Very dirty little series so far. A lot of cheap shots and just crap on both sides that I don't particularly like, especially if it's happening to my team. I guess is like somebody without a vested interest. I'm fine with it, but did you guys see the Brooks Orpik hit on on Pollock.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Pollock?
Yeah, it was
Pollock?
Pollock.
Pollock.
Yeah, it was clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, the injury was because he fell on his own leg. It wasn't anything that Brooks Orpik did.
Second,
Did you see it?
I did see it. Yeah.
It was. I didn't see what happened in real time.
Mhm.
I saw it happen in real time, but I didn't see. I was like, well, what? I don't understand what happened. And then I saw the replay today, or maybe it was last night, and then I saw his leg just turn like.
I haven't seen
like
the
that.
replay. I can't.
It looked like his
do
leg was
those.
made out of rubber.
Like his right toes were touching his butthole.
Oh,
Think about that.
He was bent into a pretzel.
you freaks out
One
there.
of those twisty ones.
I was watching it with my mom, and she was like, "Ooh, man," and I was like, "Oh shit."
She's like,
And
that's
she
a
was
whole
like-
whole pretzel maneuver.
She was like, "Man, that looked like a bad hit. His elbow's gonna be sore." And I was like, "Wait," I was like, "Wait a minute. You think he fell on his elbow?" She was like, "Yeah, didn't he?" I was like, "Let's rewind that." It's like, well, look at his right leg, and then she vomited everywhere.
I did too. So that was horrifyingly disgusting to me. I don't handle things like that all that well. I thought I was gonna pass out when I saw it.
That was like,
Yeah, pretty much. But I thought it was a little bit dirty.
Yeah.
I did, and what's hey, the Mike Babcock said it wasn't dirty. Brooks Orpik isn't dirty, and I'm like, well, maybe a little bit dirty.
Isn't this the
Maybe.
second playoff series in a row that Brooks has been involved in some kind of
Season-ending.
dirty-ish kind of thing? Because last year against the Penguins,
Mata wasn't season-ending, but yeah, it was. Brooks' hit on Mata last year was
right.
100% dirty hit. I don't know where it came from because Brooks, I don't think is that kind of dirty usually, but that wasn't playing on the edge. That was just flat out crossing the line.
Did we miss him doing this stuff when he was a Penguin? Because
No,
I don't remember any
no,
of
he
this
didn't.
stuff. Did he?
He
Yeah.
broke
Well, maybe that's my Yinzerness coming through.
Eric Cole's neck by boarding him. Eric Cole.
I remember that. Yes.
And yeah, that was a little bit.
he's not a
Brutal.
dirty player. Like he's gonna get his arms up or his elbow up or anything. But he's gonna finish his check whether you're in a susceptible position or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely plays on the edge, and as a result, he crosses it. The Mata hit in particular, though, was beyond that. That was a little bit out of character for him. But you can't say that the guy doesn't now have a history. So I felt like when I saw the hit on Pollock before the injury, because they always suspend and fine based on results, not intent, I actually thought it was a knee to knee. Like, it looked to me like he was... Because Pollock tried to get out of the way, and that's why he got injured, because he kind of got hit on the edge, and as a result, he twirled in the air. But if he had taken the hit cleanly and absorbed it, he probably just would have fallen more flatly. But because he got hit on the edge, it seemed like Brooks Orpik tried to adjust the lower portion of his body, and it looked like they made contact in the leg area. And I thought it was knee to knee, and I was like, a little bit dirty. It kind of reminded me of an Ovechkin type thing, the thing that Ovechkin did in 2009 against Sergei Gonchar, when there was that brutal knee-to-knee, which went, I believe it went unpenalized and unfined, and it should have been both.
Let's finish up with quick thoughts on the Blackhawks being down 2-0.
What was the final score of Game 2?
3-0?
5-0.
Oh, fuck, that's right, it was 5-0. But the point is, the Blackhawks got shut out twice.
That's pretty intense.
This is a team that was on a run towards the end of the season. They got their shit together just as the Wild were making their nosedive to the flaming pile of garbage. The Blackhawks were picking up all those pieces. They were getting in a groove. And all of a sudden, 2 games into the series, they're in Chicago. They lost 2 games at home. Going back to Nashville for Game 3, they haven't scored a goal yet.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of panic. Maybe going on the road, they can just really focus in and strike fast and strike early. They have tons of talent. They're a perennial playoff contender. They're always up there for the Stanley Cup. So I would think that they could at least score a goal. Is that what they're going to score a goal?
I think they might. Who did the Blackhawks come back from being down 3-1 most recently. Or no, I'm sorry, down 3-0. They came back, right?
They didn't.
Who did?
The Kings did.
It was the Kings, and it was Boston. Those are the recent ones.
Yeah, Boston was down against the Maple Leafs, and the Kings were down against the Sharks.
Okay.
The Blackhawks were down 3-1 to the Kings in 14.
Is that what it is? Okay.
And then they lost in 7.
Okay.
So, I mean, they have it in them. It's the same veteran core. They're more than capable. And Nashville hasn't really had a whole lot of playoff success that they can really lean on. But
who's the Nashville coach?
Peter Laviolette.
Of Flyers fame.
So you probably hate him.
I don't like him.
Of course not. Good coach, but Nashville doesn't really have a lot to hang their hats on, so I wouldn't be surprised if this series gets tied back up again. Thanks for listening to Hockey Talk. It feels really good to get all this stuff
McSoss,
off my
eh?
chest. For Ian and Matt, my name is Paul McGinty. Thanks for watching.